I remember once several years ago, I was sitting in the darshan line. Swami came over. Suddenly he stopped me and said, "What do you want?" I didn't know what to tell him. I said, "Swami, give me a..." See, not one action of Swami, not one word of Swami is irrelevant. Every word of his, every action of his has meaning. I remember once several years ago, one of my earlier visits, 35 years ago, I was sitting in the darshan line. Swami came over. Suddenly he stopped me and said, "What do you want?" I didn't know what to tell him. I said, "Swami, give me a ring." That's all I knew. I didn't know anything about Swami, what to give a ring. Then Swami told me in Kannada, "Go outside, pay 1 rupee and buy a ring." So he made fun and everybody laughed, so I went away. 25 years later, one day after I came to teach here, I was sitting in the veranda. Swami came and said, "Where is your 1 rupee ring?" 25 years later. He remembered what he said 25 years earlier. And after that, everybody started making fun of me. Swami is going to give you a ring, Swami is going to give you a ring, etc., etc. Then Swami knew I wanted it, but I don't think I was ready for it yet. So we were called in for an interview. During that interview, Swami started moving his hand, looking at me. I thought, here is my ring going to come. He produced the ring and gave it to my wife. Didn't give it to me also at that particular time. I had to wait for 5 more years for that to happen. But every word of it has relevance. For example, I was working in US. I'd done an MBA. He used to come and tell me, "You want to do a PhD?" I said, "Swami, I have no intention of doing PhD. I'm happy in my job. I don't want to go to college again. I don't want to do all that again." And then Swami will tell me again. So what used to happen was, I used to avoid going to darshan. I said, "Swami is going to do this. He's going to ask me today. I don't know what to answer." So I would not go for darshan at all. Then Swami started, doing this to my wife. "Ask your husband to do PhD. Ask your husband to do PhD." Even to the ladies' line, I went on telling her. Finally, and she used to nag me also. I said, "Swami is telling you must do this, you must do that, etc., etc." Finally, because of all this, somehow or other, I registered myself for a PhD at Columbia University when I was 40 years old almost. And then managed to finish my PhD in about 3, 4, I don't know how long, 4 years I think. And then came back. Till one day, almost about 6 years ago I think, we had an interview. Swami tells me at that time, "Now you know," that is after I started teaching here, "now you know why I wanted to do the PhD? I wanted to come and teach here." My son had a serious problem, very serious sinus problem, etc. So he decided to go through a surgery in US. But then the surgeon told him, "Look, the surgery is pretty complicated for sinus, and we will probably go pretty close to your surgery, very close, so you should be, think about it, there are possibilities. It's a very complicated surgery, sometimes very close to your optical nerve we are going to operate, etc., etc. You must do that." So he was kind of worried. So he called me and said, "Okay." I said, I will talk to Swami and see, what he has to say. I mean, if Swami says yes, you go ahead with the surgery, otherwise you don't. And so Swami used to come for darshan. I used to want to talk to him every time, but somehow or other he will avoid me. I come near him, he will go away the other side. And then somehow or other one day I managed to get an introduction into Yajur Mandir, so I went to Yajur Mandir. I was allowed to meet Swami. I told Swami, "Swami, this is the case. He's got to go to the surgery. The doctors say that, it's close to the eye, optical nerve. Be very careful." So he's very worried. Swami said, "Okay, ask him not to shake his head." Simple, joked. I said, "Why is Swami joking to me like that, But then I've told Swami, he has cleared it. So I told my son, "You can go ahead and do the surgery. Swami has cleared you." Why I'm mentioning is, it's got a sequence to what I'm going to tell later. I was not here when Swami physically, left the body. I left for the US, I think, if I'm not mistaken, sometime 16th or 17th of March 2011. So that day, I think it was 1 week before he went to the hospital, I went to Swami and told, sorry Swami, I'm going to US today. So I went to take Pada Namaskar. He told me in Kannada, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ಮೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಲ್ಲ ನನಗೆ. You won't get all this again. So I went, did Pada Namaskar. I was thinking, why is Swami saying this? So in fact, later I came back and told my wife, I said, look, something is going to happen to us. It happened to me. That's why he said, you can't do Pada Namaskar anymore. Little did I realize that Swami was referring to himself, and we didn't know it at that time. That's why he said, every time Swami says something, every word of it is potent with meaning. During this time, this is the last few months of Swami, he generally seemed very tired, doesn't seem to know what is happening around him, talked in such a way that, people didn't seem to understand. But again, what is more significant at that time is just after he finished saying that, he turned back. He still seemed very unwell, very sick, justifying everybody's statement that Swami forgets, he has become a little aged, he is not same as before, he forgets things, etc., etc. He turned to me and said, how is your son's problem for surgery? And then walked away. This is something which I had told Swami 5 years earlier, just one word. And he had remembered this, and this 3 days before he went to the hospital. Completely laid the charge that Swami was not aware of everything. I think he was aware of everything that happens to him every minute. And all this, he creates an illusion around you, pretends not to hear, pretends not to act. It's all part of that illusion that this Grand Master does.